Oh dear, for heaven's sake, that's ridiculous. Oh, I don't know what. Sometimes I think the computer must have done an update because it turned me off from everything. So I couldn't, no, I don't know why this is like this as well. I don't want it like that. I want it like that. That's better. Oh my goodness. So now I'm back to more or less normal. I still haven't got my chat up. No, I came in to do this and I was here at 2, and I do apologize, I'm now late, but everything had signed out. So I had to sign into everything. And then this program that I use seemed to have lost my channels. And then I had to try and find them. And then I was in a mess with it. No, my goodness. Anyway, I'm here now. So welcome. Oh dear. Yes, my chair's gone a bit funny as well. That's better. Oh, now my chair won't move. I'm having one of those days, as always. But I hope everybody's well. If you are going to join me today, please do let me know where you're from. If you're watching this on a repeat on my Facebook page or on YouTube, then welcome. And do feel free to put a comment and I will pick those up and reply to you at some point. But my desk's in a little bit of a mess as well today, but we will get there. So let me get started here with the cards we're going to make today. So put that up there. And yeah, nobody seems to be here yet, but that's okay. I think probably it's because I wasn't here on time, but I am here now. So there we go. Relief on that. I'll just put those away. They are from another project and I don't need those. So I'll put those away. Right, here is my desk. And finally, I can get going. And I do apologise again for being a bit late. So the card we're looking at today is this one. I call it a panel card. Really simple to make, as long as you've got the right measurements. So I'm hoping these will work for us today. But I just wanted to show you the different types of cards you can make with all of these. This one was made for my team craft session. I actually did make another one in the Memories and More size cards, but I don't know where I put it. So, well, actually, I think I might know where I put it. But anyway, it's a slightly bigger card, so the measurements were slightly different. And I think they were probably closer to the American sizes. So I have worked out, hello, Kaya, K. Can't read your name. Do you know, I really must get better glasses. Chile, Indiana. Oh, dear. Oh, I'm sorry, it's cold. Surely, Indiana. I'm trying to think. My American geography is absolutely rubbish, but I thought it should be hot there at the moment. Goodness, it's not that warm here today. We've got a lot of wind and we've got some rain again, even though the sky up there is blue, the sky up there is really quite dark. So I think we're going to get showers all afternoon. It's miserable. I don't feel we've had a summer. It doesn't feel right. Anyway, panel cards. Let's get back to these, because if I start talking about the weather, I'll probably never shut up. So this one I made for our craft evening, because our topic this week was sympathy or get well cards. So that's why I made that one. So I'm going to show you how to make them, and then I'm going to sort of describe some different things you can do with them. And hopefully you'll find it good fun. So I'm using, let me talk about the DSP. I'm actually using this DSP. This is the Thoughtful Journey DSP. Absolutely gorgeous. I've got so many bits now left in there because of all the different cards I've made, but I'll try and show you the full sheets. So they have, on one side, they have these beautiful pictures. So we've got those lovely thistles. We've got this one I've actually going to use today, this particular picture. That one, which is more of a sort of soft, I don't know, that reminds me of a Scottish type of scene. It will get hot later this week. Thank goodness for that, Kate. I'm glad. It won't here. It'll get even colder, but never mind. I suppose we're getting to autumn now. Some more different thistle ones. I haven't used those ones much. Oh, more bits. This rather nice lake one, which is the one I used in the Feel Better Soon card. I've just shown you. That, which reminds me of a sort of beach scene, a misty beach type scene. And more bits, lots more bits. This rather nice one with these sort of groups of little plants there and different beautiful colours. I'm using that one too. This one, really nice. And this one, there's so many different patterns. I'm not going to go through them all in detail, but on the reverse, there are yet more gorgeous patterns. These ones are sort of more abstract colour type patterns, brilliant for backgrounds. So, and super colours. Oh, they are just so good. So gorgeous pack of DSP, and DSP this month is on 15% off. So definitely worth stocking up with your DSP this month. I've got lots of bits left, and actually I am going to use those in a card another day, just show you very simple things to do with bits that are left out of strips of DSP, but that's for another day. We're going to talk panel cards today. So I'm going to start off, no, I'm not, I'm going to start off with this one. So you can recognise the DSP from what I've just shown you. So what do you need for these cards? Those are my bits. So let's start off. We need a card base. It's the normal card base, which is 21 by 14.8 centimetres, scored at 10.5, or in inches, 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored at 4.25. And we're going to use it landscape way, which means this way round. Then the other bits you need, I've chosen for this, I've just chosen colours that match my card. And of course, on our DSP, we always have the benefit of the fact that they list all of the colours that's in the DSP. So that really helps. So for this one, I've chosen wild wheat. And I've also got a little scrap of wild wheat and a little scrap of, I've used very vanilla for the base, I should have said that. So another scrap of very vanilla for the sentiment that I'm going to put on here. This is the cut-off from the piece, and I'm going to do something with that as well. So I've kept that because this piece, it's not the width of the full thing. For centimetres, let me just get this right. So we need a piece of card and a piece of DSP. And now normally, if we're cutting two together and just layering them, we'd have the card just very, very, very slightly bigger all round. But you actually need a wider card because you're going to have two sides of each panel, if that makes sense, for your card. So the piece of contrasting card you need, this is wild wheat for this particular card, and that needs to be 9.3 centimetres by 13.2. And for inches, I think it's 4 inches by 4.75. But I'd love somebody from the US to try it out and just see if my measurements are correct for that. I got a little bit muddled when I was trying to work out what the measurements were, but I think these are right. Then the piece of DSP you need, it needs to be 9 centimetres by 12 centimetres. In inches, that's 3.75 inches by 4.25 inches. So I think those are the correct measurements. We shall see in a bit. So I've got another card here. I'm going to put that to one side for now because I need to bring in my trimmer because we're going to start trimming things. So I'm going to make the same card as this, which is a 4-panel card. And then I'm going to show you a different way to do the panels. But this base card, fairly simple. We're going to take the DSP first. And the important thing is to keep the pattern correct. So I want the pattern to still lie like this, but just in separate panels. And so you need to cut it. We need 2 panels, 3.5 centimetres, and 2 of 2.5, but they need to be in the right order. I hope that makes some sort of sense. So we're going to start off with the first panel, which will be on the left of the card. So that needs to be a 3.5 centimetre card. What I haven't done is worked out these in inches. Good point. I might try and do that and get it in the blog if I can later. Otherwise, please do try and let me know what you manage. So it's not quite the same measurements in inches, I don't think. So no, 4.25. No, this one's 4.75. I'm not sure what the inch measurements are, and I do apologise for that. So we're going to have to work in centimetres just to tell you these. So the cut bits are 3.5 centimetres. Then the next one along is 2.5 centimetres. So if you lift your trimmer bar, put it on the 2.5 mark, and then make sure it's properly jotted up using the lines on your trimmer to make sure that it is straight. Hold and cut. The next one as well is 2.5. So same thing, line it up, make sure it's straight and cut. And then the final piece you're left with is 3.5 again. So those are we're going to keep them in order. That's really important. So as I take these off and put them on my desk, I need to keep them in the order in which they're cut to make sure that the pattern runs across properly. With this particular one, it perhaps doesn't matter quite so much as some of the others, but they are important. Now we're going to cut our panels, and the strips you need for this, and of course they don't need to be in any order this time because they don't need to be. So we want 2 strips of 3.8 centimetres and 2 of 2.8. So for the 2.8 ones, I'm actually going to come this side of the trimmer because it's easier to rest the whole thing up there. So I'm going to do 2 at 2.8. As I say, we don't need to worry about order of these because they're all the same. And then I'm going to, the rest of this is cut in half, and this will give me 2 of 3.8. So I'm moving it up to 3.8, making sure it's straight, and that will give me 2 strips of 3.8. So there are my card strips. I can move my trimmer out of the way. Now we're going to, if I lay them out in the same order, then I can stick my pattern sheets onto my base pieces here. So I'm going to do them each in turn to keep the order. Oh, look, the back of this one's very similar to the front. Doesn't matter then if you get them too mixed up, it's not going to matter too much. Okay, so this is the first one. Just slide that on. And you'll see that the way I've done the measurements, it leaves only a very little edge all the way around, which is what I want for this card. You don't want great big panels with big edges on them, so be careful. Hello, Suzanne, lovely to see you. Don't worry, I was late starting. I was just saying at the start, I had awful problems with I had to re-sign in to all sorts of things, and then it wouldn't link to Facebook and YouTube and all sorts. But anyway, we're here now. Right, so again, just being careful to line these up so that I've got my little tiny edge all the way around. So we're doing them in turn to keep the pattern correct of the full scene that we had. So it's very restful, this, because once you've done the cutting, it's really simple to put together. So you can see just the very, as I say, the very narrow edge I've got on this particular, well, on the panel cards generally. I think if you try and put a big layer behind these panels, they don't actually work. So you do want a really little narrow layer. So as I say, apologies, I'm going to actually trim this very slightly. I think I must have not quite cut it exactly, because that would give me too big. So I just need to trim off this side here, which obviously I didn't measure it too carefully. Lost my scissors now. Where are they gone? Never mind, I'll use the snips. So I'm just doing this by eye for speed. There we go, it's better. I'd obviously just cut that slightly too big. So what I do suggest, the DSP size I've given you for inches, which is 3 3/4 by 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, I think is right. Check that out. But when you're putting it on the piece of card, you might want to put it on the card and then cut the card, because then you'll know which bits they are right, that you've got the right bits. So as I say, I need to work out what the cutting bits would be for those, and I just can't do it off the top of my head. I'd have to sit down and work it out. I think I need to make a card of the US size and then try it out, but I'll see what I can manage. So then it's a matter of putting them on the card, and my suggestion for this is that you lay them on the card without putting any glue anywhere near it for now, and just sort of lay them out so they're in the right sort of place. And you want to be very careful to line up the tops and the bottoms, and then the gaps between them need to be even. So I'm just going to, there. So I've got much the same margin either side, which is good. Just might bring that one back in a little bit. I've got them lined up here, which is fine. There. So what I'm going to do, you can start either way. You can either start with the 2 middle ones. For some reason, I just like to start with the outside ones. I'm going to be very careful not to move those while I get this one and put the glue on to stick it down. It's totally up to you what order you do them in. You could do them from one side to the other. I'm suggesting that you actually use the middle 2 when you're doing it yourself. But for some reason, I like to start at the edge because I'm strange like that. So I'm wanting to make sure this one is the size in from the edge that I'd already left that side. So that's the same. Then I can stick that one down. And I've got my edge to line up. So I can either work along, or I can do what I'm going to do, which is take the other side panel and do that. I actually think it would be easier to work with the 2 middle panels, but for some reason I can't bring myself to do it. I have to do it this way around, which I think is probably more difficult. I don't know. See what you think when you try it. So this one, again, I can get it so that I've got the right gap all the way around on the same top and bottom. Move that up very slightly. using Tombow, of course, so I've got that wiggle room. And then when I do the centre panels, I can get them properly spaced, so I don't have too big a space one side or the other. But I think it's easier, possibly just as easy to start with the centre panels and then add the side ones. I don't really know. So again, just making sure that the top and bottom are lined up. That's the most important thing, the lines top and bottom. And then making the spaces as even as we can get it. You'll see there, I haven't got that perfect, but it's not too bad. That one just needs to move down a little tiny touch. There we go. There. So there's my panels on the card. And I just think they're lovely. I like wild wheat with very vanilla. I think they go beautifully. So then to finish off the card, we're going to, where have I put my stamps? There we have it. And I do have an envelope. I haven't decorated the envelope. I think for this card, I would probably use some DSP on the back, bearing in mind that our 6-inch DSP doesn't quite meet the C5 envelope. So you do have to cut it down. You have to sort of trace around it and cut it down. But that is one way to do it. Or you could use just a little strip on the side of the envelope, which I think might look quite nice. I've actually kept this strip. I've actually got the wrong envelope. That's a white envelope. Anyway, I need to put that away because I need a cream envelope, which I'll have to go and get. But my idea for this strip, because when you've sort of when you're trimming it down, you end up with a strip like that, is just to stick it inside the card. So we've got a sort of matching decoration inside the card. And then I'd choose another bit of that DSP, possibly the sky bit that I cut off to start with, for the envelope. You could use stamps as well, of course, and choose a stamp to go in there. But I just think having a little strip of that just matches the idea of these panels on the card. So I've got to, for the sentiment, I've actually got this lovely colours together. Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, I think so. I just love, I really love wild wheat. It's grown on me. I didn't like it at first, and now I think it's one of my favourites. So my idea for this one, I don't know, what shall I make it? I've got all sorts. There's so many gorgeous sentiments on Unbounded Love. Let's make it a happy birthday one. Why not? I haven't done a birthday one for a while, so let's do a happy birthday one. And I haven't got a, oops, need to just reach over for my, I'll move that, sorry. Because again, I've forgotten to get my my blocks out. So hopefully it'll fit on that one. Yes, it will. And probably wild wheat to stamp it in. You can see I'm really not organised today. I haven't got anything here, but luckily most things are within reach on my craft desk. So I just have to leap up and down a bit. Right, just check that is, yes, it is. Just thought, is my scrap the right sort of size? But luckily it is. There we go. I'll just get my cloth to wipe my stamp. I don't want to leave wild wheat all over it. There we go. I'll just put that back in there. Now I can trim this down. Look at this desk already getting covered in stuff. So I'll just trim this down there. Leave that scrap there. I might just trim a little bit off here because I've put it a little way in from the edge. That's better. I do that just by look. When I'm not sort of measuring that at all. It's just about balance. So when I'm looking for this sort of thing, the sort of balance I'm talking about, I want the gap this side to be very similar to the gap that side, which when you've got offset words can be slightly more difficult, but just trim it till it looks right to you. That's all you need to know. And then, I haven't got a scrap big enough, so I'll just go and get myself another scrap of wild wheat. Ooh, couldn't get it out then. There we go. Obviously, I changed my idea with the sentiment, so that will do. So again, I'm not measuring this. I'm just going to use the sentiment I have stamped as the marker for where I need to cut it. So I need to cut another little strip just that side of birthday, which is the same sort of size as the other side, like that. And then I can stick this on and then trim off the other end. So put that over there. Stick this on. Sorry, it's a bit messy today. Hello, Jenny. Nice to see you. Sunny. See, South Africa's sunny. We're just saying that Kay's stuck in chilly Indiana. I'm stuck with, we don't know what the weather's going to be. The sun's come out again now. We had a shower, then the sun's been out. It's very windy. It's not very warm here today. But I'm glad you're sunny. Glad somebody is. Although we had pretty good weather last week, which was nice. Just make sure that ink pad is shut. That's a good thing with these new ink pads. They're still new to me. Just always make sure that they've properly clicked shut, because it's so easy for them to dry out if you don't. Right, so now I am just going to trim this so that we've got the same border that end. So now to finish the card, I'm just going to stick it on probably up here. What do you think? I think it probably goes best up there. There's less here. And there's also this strange thing. This is part of the design. I haven't damaged the paper in any way, but I don't really like it. So I quite want my happy birthday to cover that up. So, oh, look, nearly at the end of my dimensional sheet as well, just to add to my woes. There we go. Have plenty more. I always keep a good stock of dimensionals, I have to say. Dimensionals and Tombow. I'll use too many. So I'm going to cover up that strange mark just because I don't like it. It is part of the design of the paper, but when it's on this sort of sheet, there we go. So there is the finished card. Just a very simple panel card. And I need to get an envelope for it, which I got the wrong sort of envelope, so we'll sort that out later. But here is another set I've got of bits together, same measurements as I gave you before. This time I'm using a basic white card base. And my idea was to do a sympathy card, so I've used black. But this time, and I'm going to try this, I haven't tried it yet, so this is, we'll see how it goes. If you remember, what I suggested for your strips is that you want 2 strips for the long ways strips, for these ones that we've just done. Then we've done a 3.5, 3.5, and these two are 2.5. But this time I'm going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to do a 3.5 at this end, then a 2.5, but then I'm going to make them vertical ones, just because of the way this pattern lies, because I've got sort of vertical things here. I think it's going to look better with a vertical panels, crosswise panels. I don't know what you understand. I'm going to cut them the other way. Let's see if we can make this sensible when I do it, and then instead of me rabbiting on, we might work it out better. So I want this end to be 3.5. So I'm turning it round so I can use the measure this side, because 3.5 this side takes me rather to the edge, which I'm not happy about. So that one is my right hand side panel. Then the next one along, I want another vertical panel, so I'm going to go 2.5. So that is my second panel there. But then for the rest of this, I'm going to turn it and I'm going to do 2 horizontal panels. And I'm going to make the top one slightly smaller than the bottom. So I'm going to make the top one 3.5 centimetres, like that, and then leave that one for the bottom. So the picture remains the same. Just put it out again so you can see. So the picture remains the same, but this time I've cut it in different ways. So this time on here, I'm hoping this will work. I might need a different bit of black because we might need a little bit more depth for these, because I cut the depth to match these. And obviously I'm going to have double the depth with the 2 bits of the panel in the center there. So we will see. We also might need to trim a little bit off the bottom, because if I'm going to line these up when they've actually got their panels round, can you see how this one's going to be a bit longer? So this one I am going to have to trim down just a fraction. So I'm going to make this 5 centimetres deep. There we go. So basically what I'm saying is cut yourself a sheet roughly the right size and then play around with it. So with the black, we need 2 panels of 3.8 for the vertical ones. Out. So that's my first one there. Then we need one of 2.8, which I'm going to do from this side because it's easier on my trimmer to do it. Sorry, you can't quite see that. To do it on the right-hand side, my 3.8, 2.8 is much easier to see on the right-hand side. So that's my second panel. And then for these two, I'm just going to test them against, oh yes, I have got enough, I think. Oh, I have, jolly good. So this one I'm going to just use placing them on. I might need to just trim it slightly widthways because I want to make these quite small. There and there. So tool-wise, that's just because I needed to take the end off that, it's worked. So I need to cut those in the middle. So this one is 3.9 by the look of it, but it'll vary depending on where you've actually cut your picture. And that hasn't cut very evenly. I just need to trim that little thread off there. Get little threads on bits of paper which aren't nice. I'm just going to adapt the width of this again because as you can see I've got a little bit more at the side than I actually want, so I'm going to trim that down. Just a little note actually, if you're trimming down for a narrow border, on your trimmer you've got the line of the channel here at the top, the sort of, you know, the channel here stuck there. Just to the right of it, this bit, use that line there because the distance between there and the channel is just right for your border. It's just a little hint that I discovered for myself. So I know where to trim it to get the border right. So here again, I'm going to line it up. Use the piece I'm sticking on as a marker. So that needs to be just left of that little channel edge. So that little channel edge there is where I line up the edge of the paper, and then my card underneath is cut just at the right place to give a little border in the way I want. So, having cut that a bit more, I think that is working. So I shall just stick these all together. That's our postman just coming. There's always somebody arrives just when I'm doing these lives, so I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but okay, so just sticking these bits on as before. Try and do this fairly quickly. It's fairly boring watching me do this. Obviously, I can't rush through it like I would on a recorded video. I always go through quickly on a recorded video, but when I'm doing it live, I obviously can't do it that quickly. So just trying to get the same gap all sides. And you'll notice that when I'm doing this, I'm taking them, but I'm putting them back in the right place so I know where my pattern is. I'm not getting mixed up with my pattern. I think that's the easiest thing to go wrong with this particular type of technique. And my final one. And colours, as I've said, I've used the colours suggest. Oops, got glue where I didn't want it then, but never mind, it'll be fine. Except it's on my finger, and I'm now sticking to the paper. There we go. There's my pieces. So I did wonder with this one whether to actually use a black card and to use the russet red colour, it's Calypso Coral, I think, as the background. But I've done it this way. We'll see what it looks like when it gets onto the card. So now, as before, I'm going to place the pieces onto the card and see how they look. Line them up as I really want them. So there and there looks about right. Yeah, says she knocking the card about. Honestly, there we go. Let's place those down and then I can stick the end one on first. As I've said, I'm pretty sure that using the middle ones, certainly on the upright panels, is probably easier to start with those, but what the heck, I'm doing it this way. Because I really want to make sure this bit's vertical, and then I can use the piece that's there to help me with the other bits and make sure they're lined up. So this time I'm going to do the two vertical panels first. And the gap needs to be just slightly wider than on the previous card because of how I've done the two horizontal panels as well as the two vertical ones. So now I can stick the vertical panels on. I'm going to start with the top one. So the key is to line up so that this whole top line is correct, and that the gaps, want the gap this side and that side of the panel to be right, and that side to be right for the edge of the card. And then finally our final panel. Ooh. Blur, got the glue where I didn't want it. I need to wipe that off before I finish this card. But the gap between the top and bottom, I probably should have taken even a little bit more off than I did. I should have measured it properly, I suppose, but there we go. What do you think? How do you think about that? I quite liked that. I just felt that that design just gave itself more to horizontal type panels more than others. Obviously, you could use a piece and cut it in 4 equally that way, so you have 2 horizontal panels, or you could have 2 half pieces, cut one near the top and one near the bottom, so you have slightly offset panels. It really is up to you how you put the panels together and how you cut them, and that will depend to some extent on the picture that you are using. Same thing with before. I can use this to stick inside the card as a bit of extra decoration, the bit I cut off the edge of the sheet. And then I just need a strip of, I haven't got my basic white little bit. Need a little strip of basic white, which I have got over here somewhere. There we go, use that. And I'm going to use this one with Sympathy. If I can find it, where is it? Why can't I find with Sympathy in here? That's the one problem with these, you can't look on the back and see through it. I can't find with Sympathy, it's definitely in here. Where the heck is it? Oh, it is sideways on there that I couldn't see. There we go. With Sympathy. Now this is Sympathy card, so I am going to use Memento. Cut has given a completely different look. Yeah, I think it does. And just the colours you use in the background, the colours you use for the base card, you could use any DSP that's got a scene on it, or make your own scene, of course, make your own DSP. But I do think that the DSPs we have, some of them really lend themselves to this type of card. So thank you very much for that, Suzanne. Very true. The colours are gorgeous. So just going to stamp with Sympathy on there. In Memento, because it is a Sympathy card, and in black because I've used black as my layer there. And let's clean that and put it away. Sideways, which is where I couldn't see it. And then we can trim this. I'm going to use my trimmer actually to make sure it's straight. Because sometimes my eyes are a bit wonky and they don't measure it brilliantly, so we'll have a proper cut one. There we go. And then we can stick that on, I hope, something that matches it. Oh, I just need to take an absolute sliver off this, and then it's just to make it fit. So a real sliver. So I'm just lining it up on my trimmer right to the edge and just take a sliver off. Just need to trim that with my scissors as well, because it's taking off really thin slivers can be a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to neaten that up with my trimmer, with my scissors. I could, of course, get a different piece of black and stick it that's big enough, but hey, this is the one I've got on the desk, so it's going to have to do. There we go. So again, just a narrow border all the way around. I'll trim that just with my snips, and I'll stick that in that sky area there, which is just right for it. Again, using a couple of dimensionals. There we go. So there's my second card. Just so simple. Now you could add gems to these if you wanted. I'm not adding anything to them because I don't want to take away from the gorgeous DSP, because that to me gives enough interest to the card without actually adding gems and things. You could, of course, if you want, you can, put bows on and God knows what if you want, but I think that to me is just right. Finally, I've got another one set up here. because one of these sheets of DSP has these trees on. And I took one look at this. You like how you matted? Oh, sorry, I'll just read the chat. I haven't kept up with that. Okay, you like how you matted the DSP? Yeah, it just brings it out. You need to put some sort of border around so they look like bits of picture, really. And I think it does. That makes it quite stark and stand out a lot, using the black for a sympathy card. That really does bring out a picture. Got to be careful what you use that with. I've used tone on tone for these, so I've used wild wheat against the wild wheat in the DSP there. And for this one was Misty Moonlight that matched the Misty Moonlight in the DSP here. For this one, I'm actually using Highland Heather, again, picking up the colour from the DSP. But I saw this and I thought, oh my goodness, look at that. That is a Christmas scene, a real Christmas scene. So I thought I can make a Christmas card with it. So here, live, I am actually going to make my first Christmas card of the year, which is a big thing, because although I know that some people do Christmas in July and make all sorts of things for Christmas in July, I can't cope with that. I really struggle to cope with Christmas before really about October. So I'm always rushing to make Christmas cards then. But I just really struggle. When the sun's shining, I find it difficult to think about Christmas. So we're going to make a similar panel card. I'm going to go back to making my different sizes of panels, but this time I'm not actually going to do them so that they are the same sizes. Here I've got two same of the outside, two same of the inside. I'm actually going to use the pattern to guide how I'm going to do the cutting. So I'm going to start off. Now you can help me with this because you can tell me what you think, but either I can cut it there, so I've got one tree there and perhaps two trees on the next panel, or I can have a wide side panel and then a narrower second panel and then just cut two narrow panels for this end. What do you think? What do you feel for this particular DSP? Because I think sometimes you need to look at the DSP. I could just do it in the way I've done it before, but it would cut through half the images, and the trees in particular I think should look right. So any ideas? Your kind of card Christmas. So I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong about Christmas. I absolutely adore Christmas. I have decorations everywhere. I have lots of musical decorations, much to the disgust of my husband. More about those nearer the time. But so I love Christmas. I just struggle to think about Christmas in August. That's the only problem. So what do you think? Shall I cut one tree and then two trees, or two trees then one tree for my panels? What's the thoughts? Wide side panel. Okay, you're the first in with that case, so we're going to go with you. So we'll cut it here and have the two trees. So I'm going to cut between the second and third tree, if you like. So we're going to have a wide first panel. Lay this out so I don't get it lost. So then I'm going to cut a narrower second panel. So I'm not measuring these, notice. I'm just cutting them where the picture seems to allow the cut. So we've got that one and that one. And then this one I'm going to cut a little bit offset, not quite in the middle. I'm going to go down with the picture here. So it's sort of in the middle, but not actually quite, although they're pretty close. Yeah, that one's just very slightly wider. They're very similar, so I need to be careful to keep these in the right place. So now to cut the card for these, I haven't measured them, so I need to measure them now. So I cut the card right. You'd have the wider cut at the right side to keep the tree. Well, there we go, Suzanne. I've already done it, so I'm glad about that. And I actually agree with you. I think that's better. I think two trees wide and one narrow would have been cutting the one and then two. I don't think would look quite as good. So this is where I'm now going to measure them. I'm going to use my trimmer to measure it. So I'm going to put the edge against the guide, against the cutting guide, because that's the cut. So that actually measures 4.2 centimeters. So I'm going to make my panels, by the way, are 3 centimeters bigger. So that was 4.2. So I need 4.5 for my panel for that. So I can put my card on at 4.5, cut that off, and it should be, if I haven't been talking too much and did measure correctly, yeah, indeed, that gives me the right size panel for my tree. So this is where you don't need to worry about actually measuring it first, but you will need to measure it when you come to the card. So this one is, let's put that on again, so that is 2.7. So I need one of 3. I need a panel 3 millimeters bigger at 3. So for yeah, about 1/8 of an inch bigger if you're working in inches. So if you're working in inches, your panel needs to be 1/8 of an inch bigger than your cut DSP. 4 centimeters, it's 3 centimeters bigger. And then, whoops, keep these in order. That's my next one, which is similar sort of size. What is this? That is 2.4. So I need 2.7. And my final piece should be exactly the right size for the final piece. And it is, that's worked beautifully. So just to let you know, this one was 2.6. So this one should have been 2.9. Which it is. There you go. So as long as you've got the right size base card, you can easily do this and change it up and match it around and do all sorts. So here we go. Again, just putting it together in exactly the same way. Making sure I'm just leaving my little tiny gaps around my panel. So that's panel 1. Panel 2. Panel 3. And panel 4. And as I say, I'm not convinced that the inch measurements, I've tried to work out the inch measurements, but I haven't tried it out actually on a card. So when you come to look at my blog and get the measurements off it, just be a little bit careful. Okay, so there's my panels. So again, need to lay them out on the card. I'm going to start off and I'm just going to go for it because they're in turns. So I'm going to start with the edge panel and then just move along. Because I know if I leave that sort of gap at the side, I'm just trying to hurry this up because I've done this too many times. You don't really need to see me sticking things on cards, but now I'm rushing and getting glue all over the desk. That's not good either. So then the second one. So I know the sort of gap I need to leave, so I can just line that up nicely. Then the third one. Try not to get any more glue on the desk. I've got more than enough on there. So again, the top and bottom are the important things when you're doing these vertical panels. So you see this DSP, I think I couldn't have done horizontal panels because it just wouldn't have looked right. The DSP itself just doesn't lend itself to being cut in that way. So we needed them to go across like that. So there are my panels. So let me just wipe up that glue before I get it everywhere. Then, oh, I've got my piece for inside as well. I forgot that bit. So this is just a bit I cut off the edge. When I've cut the DSP down lengthwise, when I cut it widthwise, I get a piece left, which gives me a piece for the inside of the card, just to decorate the inside of the card, which makes decorating the inside of the card really easy as well. There we go, just to have that. Now I need another piece of, that should do. Then this is new, the Greetings of the Season. It's an online exclusive that's there. I think it's available to everybody now. But it's got the most fabulous greetings for Christmas. I'm going to use the Season's Greetings one. Comes with dies, by the way. Lovely dies. And I did think, oh, I could use the die to cut it out. But actually, I'm going to use a punch just for quickness. And I need to find, where is it? Season's Greetings. Oh, it's not actually, I think it's that one. Season's Greetings, yes. Do you find sometimes it's difficult to work out which stamp is which on these? But anyway, we will do it in Highland Heather. If I can find my... Where is Highland Heather gone? Might have to be fresh freesia. Well, there it is. Oh, it's gorgeous grape. Will that do? Do you know what? I think we might have gorgeous grape just for fun. This cardstock might be gorgeous grape. I thought it was Highland Heather. Anyway, whatever. They're very similar. Is that big enough? I choose these little tiny bits of card and then panic that they're not big enough. I think I can just get it in, especially if I angle it slightly, which, given that it's an italic type of font, it doesn't matter that it's angled slightly to fit. So I'm fitting. Really, you ought to do the sentiment and then cut the card, but I just had this scrap which was useful. So I was actually going to punch it because I saw that punch. Oh, I could use that punch because it will actually fit in, but no, I'm not. I'm just going to very quickly just make it a square sentiment again. And in a way, square matches because my edges because my panels are rectangular, they've got straight edges. So having a straight edge sentiment does at least match that. So I can stick that on here and then trim it down. I'm sticking it to this side because that card is just a little bit damaged on the other side of the corner. So that's the corner I shall want to cut off. So I'll stick it this way around. And then I can use my trimmer, lining it up with the tip I gave you. If you line up the edge of your sentiment with the edge of the channel in which the cut line is, if that makes sense. And then when you cut it, it gives you just that little tiny border, which is what you want. So we line up the edge of the, you see that all right? Yeah. The edge of the sentiment with the edge, this edge of this sort of piece that sticks up. I don't know what that is. And then the gap between there and the cutting channel is exactly the right size for a little tiny panel. So it means you don't need to get too much into measuring. Oh, a little bit of white card I should have trimmed off. Never mind. So we're going to have it up here. I think, again, I've got an area which hasn't got that much in it. So we will use that with my last 2 dimensionals. I really need to get a new pack out. I'm not going to, because I'll obviously use all the bits around the side first, because that's what I do. And we'll have that up here. Just a little tip, whatever you do, don't line up the edge of your sentiment with one of the gaps. It doesn't look right. I know that because I had to remove the sentiment from this one because I actually moved it over and had it in the middle, and it almost lined up exactly with these edges, and it just didn't look right at all. It needs to be offset against the panels. Just a little tip there. So what a lot of cards we've done. I have one last thing to do with this particular card, and that is, it's Christmas, and it can't be a Christmas card without some bling. So we're going to have some Wink of Stella. Oh, my Wink of Stella, come out. There we go. I just thought we'd use some Wink of Stella just over the base here. Following some of this shadow. And then I'm going to pop some on the trees themselves because you can never have too much bling. Just really dabbling it all around. You won't be able to see this too much on the... I think my Wink of Stella's running out. That's not good either. There is a tip to getting more out of your Wink of Stella, which I'll give you some time, but not today. So perhaps, I don't know if you can see that. If I angle it, it might catch the light. No, I don't think it's going to. I can see it. We've got Wink of Stella anyway. So there we have it. Panel cards. Let me just move the envelopes. I'll sort those out in a bit. So different ways to use them, different measurements to use. Try the measurements in the blog, and please, anybody from the US who tries them with your size of card, please let me know if they are correct, because I'd be devastated if they're not. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some ideas. So let me just pop me back so you can see me to say good, so I can see you to say goodbye. Thank you very much for joining me today. All of the details for this and the measurements, certainly for the centimeters, which I know are right, will be in the blog. I've put inch measurements. I haven't put the inch measurements for the size of panels because, like for the last card, I think you're better to just cut your panels, then cut your other piece of card. But I think the overall piece is the right size that I've put in. So have a look and see. Nice cards. Thank you, Kay. I'm glad you like them. I just find they're so simple and easy, and you can use them for anything. So we've got birthday, sympathy, get well, Christmas. You can literally, if you've got the right DSP, you can use them for any type of season, any type of card that you want to make, thank you cards, whatever. So easy to do. So thank you very much for joining me today. It's gone on a bit longer than normally I would do, partly because I started so late because of my problems with getting set up. But thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next week. Now, good point, because next week it will not be on a Tuesday. I'm moving it to Wednesday because I have a final cricket match of the season on Tuesday. So I shall be doing that next Tuesday. So my live next week will be Wednesday. So for those of you signed up to my emails, you will get that in the email, and I will say that. So lovely live show, Carol. All the cards are lovely. Oh, thank you. Tips on cutting the pieces. Excellent. Goodbye and enjoy the rest of your week. Yes, everybody also enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you again next Wednesday, not Tuesday. Bye for now.